are kind of like the what we'll be talking about today are sort of a lesser utilized components of Google. There's still a lot more that we have yet to cover, but these are a few, and these are some of the ones that I've found to be a lot more useful than some others. And one that I'm starting to use a lot right now is Google Keep. It's becoming my go-to application for a number of things. So I'm going to start with Google Keep, and then we're going to move on to some other things. We'll talk here. Actually, let me give you a little bit of the agenda here. We're going to talk about Google Keep. I'm going to talk a little bit about getting extensions, Chrome extensions, and one of my favorite ones that I'm going to show you as an example of a very useful extension. A little bit about getting add-ons, and we'll also do Google Hangouts and Google Groups. So I want to start by talking about Google Keep. Google Keep is an accessible note-taking tool, very similar to the type of note-taking tool that you get when you buy like an iPhone or something like that, where you have an application that's called Notes and you can put little notes in it and you can keep it on your phone. But this does much more than what those applications can do because it integrates with all of the other Google applications, and that's what makes it so remarkable. It's something that you can have on a phone, you can have it on a tablet, you can use it on a Chromebook, you can use it on a computer, and it can be utilized as a Chrome extension. So when you log in and take a note in any one of these places, it's also accessible from any other of these places. So it's very useful in that way. Well, what can it do? Well, it can be used for taking notes, uh, keeping links, various web links, etc. It can take voice notes, voice dictation, and you can also hand write notes by using like a pen tool. It allows you to scribble. It also allows you to notate on a note, to create annotations on a note, and some other things like that. But right now, this we're only scratching the surface. We're going to see a lot more when I dig into it. Other things it can do is you can archive and save web links. So if you're on your phone and you hit a website that you really like and you need to keep it, you can do so and you can put it into Google Keep. You can share your notes. Anything you create in your Google Keep can be shared in the same way that you can share all of the other types of things that we share in Google. It allows you to make checklists. It allows you to collect images. It does optical character recognition. And we'll take a look at how that works, which means I can take a picture of a page of a book and then it can turn it into text. Now, since La Casa Dominicana deals with languages and sometimes needs translation, this can be a great way to translate printed material from a book into something that can be digitized, and then you could use things like Google Translate to translate that into another language. You can record recordings. It does voice recognition at the same time, and of course it integrates with G Suite, as I said before. And it has a great little feature called location reminders, which I'll talk about as we move forward. How can it be used? Well, teachers can use it for organization, to set reminders for things, to collect data or research, to share data or research or any types of notes they might want to share with students, and to share with other teachers who you may be collaborating with. And you can also use it to organize your thoughts, and it could also be used as a basis for creating compositions. Students can use it pretty much in almost the same ways. They can use it for organization. They can also set reminders for themselves. It's great for collecting data for research. They can share their notes with teachers, share with collaborators. Again, thought organization, even creating storyboards for making videos and things like that, and composition. So what I want to do here is I recorded, since I can't really show you my phone on this webinar, what I did is I recorded a short 4-minute demonstration of how to use Google Keep on a phone. So I'm going to play that 4-minute video, and then afterwards I'm going to come back live, and then I'm going to show you the web-based version of it, which is very, very similar. So Faisal, if for some reason the audio doesn't come through from this, I don't know if this is picking up my computer audio. Let me know. I don't know if this will work or not, but I'm going to try to play this video. Let's see if this works.
Okay.
Can you hear the audio?
No.
Okay. Then we're not going to use this video, but you can revisit it later. Okay. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to leave the presentation, and I'm going to show Google Keep from the web browser perspective, which works very much like Google Keep from the phone perspective. So to get there, I'm just going to go to keep.google.com. Okay, and what you're looking at are tiles of notes that I've taken over time. Some I've taken, some are useful, some are just some things that I've taken for demonstrations for workshops like this and whatnot. So what I want to do is show you the various types of notes you can create and how you can create them. So before I do that, I need to shut off this one extension, which actually I'm going to be turning on a little bit later, but for right now I want to shut it off because I don't want it to get in the way. Now, up here it says take a note, and when you're on your phone and you have the Google Keep, by the way, after this session, I highly recommend you to download the Google Keep. If you don't already have it on your phone, please download the Google Keep on your phone. You're going to love it. So the same little tab appears on the phone version of this. It says take a note. And when you click in it, it allows you to put a title of your note. And it allows you to put whatever notes you want to put into your note. Okay, I can fix my spelling here. And that's so what we have just done is just a basic note. There's nothing very special here. Okay, so I'm going to close this, and when you close it, it actually creates the note. Now there are a number of organizational things we can do with this note once we later on, but what I want to do is show you the other types of notes we can make before we get there. The next type of note I want to make here is if I click on these ellipses down here, which opens up a menu, okay, I can do one that says show checkboxes. And this still lets me make a note, okay, but it allows me to do it in a list form with checkboxes, which I really like. So let's say that this was a shopping list or something, and I wanted to do milk, okay, bread, and eggs. Oh, I guess this is what people make when it snows. And meat. I want some meat. Okay. So this is what a checklist would look like. Now, the way this thing works is that as I take items off my list, by the way, this could be a to-do list too. It doesn't have to be a shopping list. But as I take things off my list, they get crossed out and sent to the bottom, which is really nice. Now, if you want to send one back up to the top, you just click it again, and it will put it back up to the top. Okay, so that's pretty nice. You can also, if you have all your items down there, you can also click on this drop-down menu, and you can click uncheck all items, and it brings everything back up just the way you started the list at the very beginning. So, so this is perfect. Now, let me show you something that's very cool about Google Keep that this does. And this particular list is a great one for me to utilize this option in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the little bell which is for my reminder or for my notifications. And look at my choices for reminders. I could remind myself later today. I could send me a reminder tomorrow. I could send me a reminder next week. I could pick a date and time, okay, right from a calendar. Or I can do this thing that says pick a place. Okay, so let me explain how this works. By the way, when you choose any of these, when you have the app on your phone, you'll get a notification on your phone as long as you have your notifications for Google Keep enabled on your phone. Now I'm going to do pick a place. And what this is going to do is, let me see if I can find, I'm going to do Costco, Manahawkin, which is not far from here. Okay, and I'm going to hit save. So that's a store where I could easily get milk, bread, eggs, and meat. And what this will do now is when I have this on my phone, it uses GPS. And when I get to the location that I've enabled in here, the list will pop up on my phone when I get there. So it's like it's really cool the way this works. So it's something I encourage you to try. I use this feature a lot. I use this if I have like a link to a registration when I go to a conference. I put in the location of the conference, and when I get to the conference, it pops up on my phone. When I go to the registration desk, there it is on my phone. I'm ready to go. So that's another type of list we can make. You can also do lists where you import or add images. And if you do this on your phone, the image you'll be adding will come from your photos on your telephone or whatever your photo is. So if I put in an image, I can just select an image, and now that becomes an image in my note. It goes to the top of the note, and then you can add text or any kind of notes after that. And you know, that's really nice. Now I'm going to add some more stuff here. Let's see here. I'm going to make hold on, sorry. I got confused or something. There's something that was missing for me. I was trying to look for the option to create a voice recording, but that seems to be a phone option only, or there could be something going on where my mic isn't reaching Google Keep because I'm using it for this webinar. I'm not quite sure. However, what I want to do is talk about how I can organize my notes once they are created. One thing I can do is I can select any note and I can color code it. So if I wanted to make all of these notes that I made today purple, I could do so, and then they'll stand out as something that I have created. Now, today, so here they are. See, I'm making all these purple. And you can just see that's one way to organize your notes. Another thing you can do is you can add labels to notes. So if I have any notes, you'll see here, look at this, I have a label. This would be like my social studies paper. Let's say that I was compiling information about something that I wanted to use for a paper I have to write for a class or something like that. So this is, so what we can do with something like this is if I have a note open, I can change. Well, this says change label. So wait, hold on. Let me go to one that doesn't have a label already. So let me just go to my notes, and let's take like one of these ones I made today. So I'm going to go up here. Now, if I click, I can do add a label, and I can either add one of the labels that I've already created by checking them, or I can create a new label here. So my new label will be webinar. And I'll create it. Now that is labeled as webinar. So I'll do the same for this one. But now that I've already made the label, I can just choose it. Okay, so now let's take a look at how these can be used. Now, when I have labels made, they appear over here on the left. And then when I click on a label, it filters to only that label. So if I have things like this, oh, this by the way, is a drawing little thing. I'm going to show you how that works in a minute. So what I have over here is, my filter for all of these labels. Now I'm going to go back to look at all of my labels, and I'm going to open up a label here. Let's see here. This was a good one right here. And don't pay attention to this. I'm going to get rid of all of this right now. Just delete it. And what this is text taken from a book, okay? Just taken from a page of a book. And when you do this, once it's been taken, once the page has been taken, I can click on this, and there's an option. I'm clicking on these ellipses down here at the bottom. There's an option called Grab Image Text. And what it does is it converts the text from this image into typewritten text. Okay, so I'm going to show you some ways some things we can do with that once we get to other applications. But that's something that turns Google Keep right into an optical character recognition application. Additionally, I can create a note, and I can do a note by drawing the note. Okay, if I wanted to. So this is great for if you need to do mathematical equations or something like that. You can create some things, maybe something that you might want to put into another type of document later or something. And this is one of the few things that actually works a lot better on the phone than it would here, because it's much easier to draw with your finger on the phone than it is to draw from there. So those are the various different types of notes that we can create, and those are the various different ways to organize the notes. Okay, now once they're organized, well, how do we want to use them? Well, let me show you by going to, I'm going to start a new doc. And by the way, I want to show you a little trick right here before we move on. I want to start a new document. And let's say I'm just somewhere out on the web. Doesn't matter where. Let me go to let me just do a web search, and let's say here I am on Wikipedia, okay? And by the way, this is just an incidental little technique I want to teach you. But when you want to start anything new in an application in Google, you can put in the name of the application .new up here as a URL, and it'll start a new document for you. So if I want to start a new document, I could go to docs.new, and if I type that in, look what it does. It gives me a brand new empty sheet that will go to my Google Drive based on whatever account I have logged in. Okay, for just quickly before we move on, I'm going to come back to that document. But before I do that, I want to show you if I did something like sheets.new, it'll make me a new Google Sheet. Okay, and that works with slides or whatever. So that's just a shortcut little trick that I thought I could show you. So what I want to do now is I want to point out this little panel on the right-hand corner, or the right side of my browser. You'll see that I have the ability to integrate calendar. I have my little Google Keep icon, and this is where it starts to get good, because all that stuff that I've compiled in Google Keep is now available to me right from this panel. Okay, so if I'm working on a document, let's give it a second for these things to go in, and let's get to the look at this. Here's one of these images where I use the optical character recognition concept. So if I go in here and I can take this text and I'm going to do add to document. See that it just puts whatever my note is into my document. So if I have this thing where I did the optical character recognition, okay, now some of this I could actually delete the image if I like. Now I just have the text. Okay, and that was purely scanned right from Google. So this is great. So if we look through things like this, any of these images that I put in, I can use. So any type of text or research or anything that I've compiled, I can put into a document. It's a great way to collect notes on various different devices and then be able to compile them together into one document, to make them, to compile it into one meaningful document. So any of these I can place right in there. Okay, so it's a great use for this application. So I'm gonna move forward, and I do want to show you another thing that I can do with Google Keep. And I'm going to go back to to a Wikipedia page of some kind, as if I always do Martin Luther King, because I can find him by just typing 3 letters. And this will be a great segue to my next topic, which I've also added in here a Google extension called Save to Google Keep. And if I click that, that now has saved the link to this page into my Google Keep. So let me show you what that looks like. Okay, see there it is. And if I ever want to go back to that page, it just puts that into my Google Keep. By the way, I'll be able to get to that same page right from my phone when I open up Google Keep, or from any other place where I'm logged in with my Google Keep account. So that's how I use Google Keep for the most part, and I use it. I use it for everything. It's just become this huge hodgepodge of anything that I want to keep. So that's how that works. Now, the next thing I want to talk about here are Google extensions, or Chrome extensions. And let me zoom into our presentation. And basically what extensions are, if you look up at the top of my browser, you'll see these little icons. And what they augment the capabilities of the Chrome browser. They create extra tools that Chrome doesn't have. Okay, so that's what we use them for. But what I want to talk about is how to get them, and I also want to spend a little time on some of the ones that I've liked over the years, that I really like to work with over time. I'm going to focus on one very powerful one called Read and Write. Okay, so what we want to do to get an extension and to install it in our browser so that it shows up here is we're going to go to the Chrome Web Store. And you'll see all kind of extensions for lots of different things in here. Okay, so if I want to do, let's see if I have Read and Write. Let's see if that shows up. Okay, there it is. So this is the one we're going to look at today. And you can see that because it says rate it, it doesn't say add to Chrome, it says rate it. That means I've already added it to my browser. So you can see some of these other ones I did not. So if I wanted to do this text help PDF reader, if I wanted to add that to my browser, I could just click add to Chrome. Now, I might not even want this extension, but I can put it in there. And if I don't like it, I'll show you how to manage your extensions later. Okay, so you can look for extensions any way you, by any kind of keywords you want. So let's see, if I do organization, let's see what appears. That's just a keyword I'm looking at. So these are all things that have some organization type things, or whatever. So you can find extensions here at the Chrome Web Store that way. Now, when you do enable an extension, you get these little toolbars, you get these little icons across the top. By the way, there's another one I really like that I want to show you as we go on. It's called Grammarly, which is pretty powerful. Even as a free application, it's a pretty good one too. I'll show you how that one works as we go on. So now, what does an extension do for me? Well, I think when we were doing Google Classroom, we actually looked at the Add to Classroom extension, which is really nice. So we kind of got to see what that did. There's a one I use in here called DF YouTube, which is DF YouTube, which stands for Distraction Free YouTube. And let me show you what that does. If I go to YouTube and I load in a video, doesn't matter what it is. Okay, not even going to worry about what the video is. You'll see that we have all this other stuff here. We have these comments. We have all these other videos. Now watch, if I enable my distraction-free YouTube, I'm going to activate it. Okay, now look, it removed all of those things. It removed all the comments. It removed everything except the description of the video and the video itself. Okay, so I can enable or deactivate it, and I'll deactivate it. And I love to use this as an example of an extension because I think it really shows how it augments your capabilities, how it augments your Google Chrome capabilities. Okay, so with that in mind, so that's a good one to get, especially if you need to use YouTube in front of groups of people and you don't want to have all this extra noise on your pages. It's a good way to go. So what I want to do is I want to show you the extension that I downloaded that I was talking about. And the one I want to show you is called Read and Write. And it looks like this little, the icon for it up in my toolbar looks like a little puzzle piece. And I'm going to start with a new document. So I'm going to just and I want to just kind of go through all the various things that this one extension does. So when I click on it, I can enable it. Okay, and what it does is it gives me a new toolbar that I didn't have before. Okay, and we're going to take a look at every one of these tools and what it does. Okay, the first one is just a spell checker. So if I type in some text here, and I'll spell something wrong on purpose. Okay, actually, let me shut this off. Okay, I can select, whoops, I lost my tool. Excuse me, I have too many extensions doing too many different things for me. So let me get my thing here, and I'm gonna put the checker on here, and I can right click and let's see. Boy, it doesn't even know what I was trying. Oh, it did. It fixed it. How are you doing? Let's see if it gets this one. I'm just right clicking. There it is. I'm getting the right word. Today. Okay, so that's just, it adds a spell checker that could be a little more robust than the normal spell checker you have in here. Now, the next icon that this extension gives us is prediction. What that does is it kind of starts completing sentences for you as you're typing. So let me click on prediction, okay? And it actually starts to give suggestions of words. Okay, and I don't know if you can hear this, but it will also read them out with a voice. So I'm hearing the voice, okay? So look at this. I could actually almost start to the next. Now, I don't want any of these words. Look at this. So I'm just going to type in thing. Okay. We, look at this, want to do is get a, look at this new, it just figures out what word could logically come after the one you're doing. A new, now sometimes you actually have to type your own word, but it's a very helpful tool in creating writing. So you have to enable it by clicking this icon, and it will put that in for you. The next thing is a dictionary. Okay, so now if I select a word and I add it into the, and I click here for the dictionary, it will give me a definition of that word. I can also use the icon next to it, where you'll see here it's like a little picture, and that's the picture dictionary. When you click the picture dictionary, it gives you these little pictures, which actually, if you want, you can drag those and put them into your document. Okay. So, these are some various different types of things. Now, another thing this does, which is great, particularly if you're dealing with people who are ESL or whatever, is that you can select part of your document and click the play button, and it will read the text back to you. So again, you're probably not hearing it because it's not picking up the internal sounds off of my computer, but that was reading the text back to me. And of course, with that button, you can play it, you can pause it, and you can stop it. Okay, so that's how that works. Now, this next thing, the screenshot reader, what that does, let's go to our web page here, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to open this. I'm going to open up the read and write toolbar. So that you don't have to be on a document you're creating for this to work. You can use this pretty much anywhere you are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the screenshot reader and I'm going to select this paragraph. And what it will do is it's going to read, if you basically everywhere that little purple thing is moving, there's a voice reading this to me. Okay, and if you want it to stop, you just close this. So this is a great and easy, a very simple way to work by using it. Now, the thing that this does next to it is it does the exact same thing, except it will actually make an audio file that downloads to your computer with the sound of voice in it. So that's pretty impressive as well. You can do a web search from here. The screen mask is kind of cool. It will it'll follow your cursor around by it dims the unused part or parts of the screen you don't want to see, so that if you want to show during a presentation and focus attention on a specific area, you can do that. You can go to its settings and you can make it a bigger or smaller. You can darken the background or lighten it. Okay, and these are presentation tools that people use on things like smartboards and things like that, but they now they just come right with the Chrome browser. Look, I can increase or decrease the size of what is actually being shown, and then of course I'll darken my background, and I need to click OK. And now, so if I want to focus attention on specific sentences while presenting this page, I can do so. Okay, so that's how that works. And I'm going to shut it off just by clicking it again. And there you have it. Now, what I want to do is go back to the document I was working on. And where's the one? So I'm going to computer. I'm going to type in a little more text here. We need a monitor, a CPU, and a mouse for our computer. Let's see if this works. So what I did is I just typed in some new stuff here. And what I'm going to do is this time I'm going to use these highlighters. And I want to use the same color every time so that this will work properly. So what I'm going to do is select the word computer, and I'm going to highlight it. Then I'm going to select the word monitor, and I'm going to highlight it. Then I'm going to select the word CPU. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to do mouse. I'm going to highlight it. And that's good enough to illustrate what I'm doing. So what I want to do next is click over here on this little thing that has like a little list icon. And what that does is it creates a vocabulary list based on my selections. So whatever I have that's highlighted in purple here, it will make me a vocabulary list. So if I click this, give it a second. It's made me a list, complete with pictures. If it has pictures, it will. Okay. Now, some of this, they didn't know which mouse we meant, so we could probably delete this. But look at this vocabulary list. It is just from selecting a few words on a document. This is great. Okay. So if you need to create a vocabulary list from a document, this is a great way to go. Okay. So and you can also put in a voice note. So a voice note would be something like where I can select here and record something. Hello, I'm recording something. And put insert. Okay, and the voice note will appear on the based on the highlighted word, just like a note would in your Google Doc. So this is a really useful thing. Now, another thing I can use here is if I take a word and hide it, highlight it. See this thing? This is the translator, and I'm going to show you how you can choose your language for the translator. If I select that word, it will show you the word in your chosen language, and when you click on the word, it will speak the word with the proper pronunciation of the word. Again, you're probably not hearing that when I click on it, but it will do that for me. So that's really helpful. Now, the way I got that to come up in Spanish is from the actual settings button right here. So if I have my toolbar enabled for read and write, and I click on these ellipses, I can click here and I can go for options, and you'll see that the my voice options, my preferred voice is US English. Okay, the speed, I just keep it right in between. But look at this, my translation language, I can choose whatever language when I pick that Croatian tool, when I pick the translation tool, as soon as this whatever language I designate here, that will be the language that it changes to. You also have various different settings for all these different types of things. So that's a very handy app. Okay. In general, you could also do this practice reading aloud, which basically allows you to select text and you can record yourself reading the text. So this is great if you want to work with people who want, have them work with reading aloud in English, reading out loud in English, and it would make a voice recording of them reading things. So this one application, this little piece of the puzzle, does all of this. Okay, so this might be one of the most robust Chrome extensions that I know of out there. So that's the general idea of that. Okay, so what I want to do is move on now to Google Groups. Okay, and to work with groups today, I'm actually going to use a different account just because my Stockton one is a bit limited. So I want to go to my consumer account, and I'm going to go to groups.google.com. Okay, and you can also get to your groups from the menu here. There should be a groups icon if you're not sure. Now, when you get to groups, you have a couple of choices. You can use groups that you're already subscribed to. This could be groups that other people have created that they've included you in them, or you could start your own group where you could include other people in it. Now, what is a group? Well, it's any time you want to keep people together to communicate more easily and all stay on the same page. So if you're working on a project with people, it would be great. Some people would use it for maybe a class or something like that, but that's really not people don't do that quite as much anymore because Google Classroom does that now. So we don't really see that being used in that way nearly as much. Okay. But like to show you what groups look like, if I click on my groups, these are various groups that people have either uh, added me to, or groups that I've created doing workshops or whatever. But as a Google certified trainer, I belong to the Google Education Certified Trainers group, which allows me to go here, and there are all these. I have access to all these various different types of things, including an extensive forum where we all share information with each other about various different things. So that is what it looks like to get to a group. But what I want to do is I want to create a group from scratch. And I want to show you the different types of groups that can be created. So I'm going to go to create a group or create group, and you got to give your group a name. Okay. And the only reason I'm doing La Casa 2 is because one time when we were doing this before, I did another one called that. And you'll see that your group actually gets a URL when you create it. Okay, it doesn't take spaces, so any spaces you put in there, it puts in dashes. And you can put in a description for your group. Okay, you can pick the group's primary language, whatever you want it to be. And now here's where it gets interesting is when you make this selection right here. See this select group type? Various different group types, and they all work a little bit differently. First one you'll see here is email list. Okay, and what that does is anybody in the group sends out an email, they send it to the group, and everybody in the group gets that email. And if anybody responds to one of those emails, that shows up in the email. So it's basically a sort of not much different than if you CC'd a bunch of people in an email group, but this makes it a lot easier because you can maybe have hundreds of people in a list like that. The second one is a web forum, which actually allows you to set up a discussion board for any type of web forum. Okay, so if you wanted to create like a discussion group for your colleagues or for a bunch of people doing things, you can do so with the web forum. You can also do Q&A forum, which is very similar. The only difference is the Q&A is always based on being initiated by a question of some sort, so that it's a place where people can go and ask questions about how to do things. A good example of that would be any place where people are posting simply because maybe something isn't working for them, and they can say, well, how do I get my read and write extension to work better, or whatever. So that would be an example of where somebody would use a Q&A forum. And then you have one that's collaborative inbox. And the best way I can describe this is that it's as if you create an email account. It would be the equivalent of everybody having a password to one email account. Okay, so it's a place where the distinctions are between that and email list can be a little confusing, but it's kind of a place where everybody included on the list is included on that account. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick with email list for this example, and because that seems to be one of the more useful types of things that people use. And now the next thing we want to look at is basic permissions. Okay, you can view topics. Now, these are basically the permissions of the people of the group. So what this is saying is who can view topics. Well, if you shut all these people off, it wouldn't be a very useful group. So, but members of the group is usually the default. You usually want people to do that. But if it's in the case of an informational forum or something like that, why not let anyone on the web view the topics? Okay, if people can learn maybe from the questions posted from the forum. The next thing is who can post to the group. Again, of course, the owners and managers of the group can the members of the group, and if you want them, maybe you want the members only to be able to read what the managers and the owners are posting. So you can shut them off or you can turn that back on. So that's how that works. And then who can join the group? And this is where you decide if you want your group to be private or you want it to be more wide open. Okay, so here's how it works. Anyone on the web can join. That just means anybody who wants to go on the web can go in and put themselves in on the group. Only invited users is one that's basically saying it's a private group. Okay, the managers of the group have to invite the people individually for them to be invited or to be part of it. And anyone can ask is kind of like it's making it public, but they can't really join the group unless they have to ask for it, and then the group administrators can either permit or not permit the person into the group. Okay, so that's a pretty useful one if you're trying to get things out to a lot of people and you don't necessarily know all of their email addresses, and you know, you want people to be able to join. So what I'm going to do is, this is the first step of creating the group, and I'm going to hit create. And it just wants to make sure I'm not a robot. I'll click continue because if they had robots creating groups, that would be miserable. Now look at this. So La Casa 2 group has been created. Your group has been created. Get started with your new group. The first thing they want me to do is invite people. I can always go back and customize some of the group settings. Maybe if I don't like what I chose on that first page, those options will reappear at that point, and then add a topic and start posting. So I'm going to click OK because technically I could just hit the hypertext for any one of these and it would take me to them. But I know where to go to do all of these types of things here. So what I want to do here is, let me see, where is, hold on, where am I? Oh, okay, I'm going to click down here, manage members, and I can sorry, the interface has changed a bit, and it's I'm not seeing where I add my people. Wait, manage group. Oh, members. There it is. Excuse me on this. I don't know why this is doing this to me. Hold on. It used to be just up here, there was a place to add members, and now it's gone. So I don't know. Let's see here. Let's see what's on this panel on the left. I can't believe that this just isn't showing anywhere. Not quite sure how to deal with this. Manage members. Usually there's a plus sign. Well, I'm going to have to come back to this because it's just not working. This has never happened to me before. I apologize for this, but I'm going to have to figure that out because it's just not, they've changed the interface and I can't find where that is. So I apologize for that. We're running a little short on time, so I do want to get to Google Hangouts for you. I'm going to find this before we hang up, though, before we end the webinar. I will show you how to add members, which is really the only other thing we had to do for this topic. Now, for Hangouts, Hangouts can be generated in two ways. And what Hangouts is basically a web conferencing program. And one way to get there is by going to hangouts.google.com, where you can initiate a Hangout, or you can do it right from Gmail, which is sort of the more popular way that people do this. Okay, so the way this works is when you are in Gmail, okay, you can have this little section down here is dedicated toward getting things done with Hangouts. Now, we can use Hangouts in two ways. We can use it as a chat, a typewritten chat, or we can use it as a video conferencing type of thing. So I'm going to include Faisal in this, and when I click on his name, I can actually send him. Now, if he has his Gmail open on his computer, I can send him a message. And that is basically texting. Now he's going in here. Let's see if he's going to say something back. I am Treaty. Okay, so ready. He's ready. Okay, so this, we could go back and forth like this and be very happy and never really have to worry at all about anything else, and this is a great way to correspond. So people use this a lot for office correspondence and whatnot. And as you can see, the interface for it it appears right in your Gmail, which is nice. Now, if I click on this little video icon, it's going to call him. And it opened up my camera. And let's see if he answers. Okay, and he did, and it's his camera is facing the parking lot. So, but typically we would see him, and again, you probably can't hear, but this is how it works. Now, if I wanted to share my screen while I'm doing my Google Hangout, for some reason I need to point things out on my screen, I can do that. I can select it. I'm getting a little concerned about sharing the screen with my screen already being shared with the GoToMeeting. So that might be a little odd, but I did want to show you where that option was. It's up here on the, where these ellipses are. I can continue chats with people. If I'm conferencing with multiple people, I can do that as well. I can also, once I'm in a chat, I can click on these people up here, and I can add people by putting in their email addresses and just invite people to the Hangout while I'm doing the Hangout. And at this point, it's just a matter of looking at each other, talking and saying what needs to be said. And when you're done, you can just hang up. So here's my, let's see if I can go back to my Google Groups. And so I'm going to open this up for questions. And you can turn your mics on if you have a question. In the meantime, I'm trying to get back into my Google Group to see why I couldn't figure out how to add members. I have been surprised by new changes in user interfaces before, but I have never not been able to do something. So that's a first for me. Any questions?
Yeah, the Hangouts, it's an app that you download, or you just install it on the Gmail?
The one that I'm using it just works right within the browser with nothing that has to be installed. You can install it on a phone. So if you wanted to do a Hangout to somebody's phone or something, they would have to have that app on their phone. But the one I'm using, I do right from Gmail, or right from, again, if you go to hangouts.google.com, that's a, you can initiate it there. So you don't need to download anything special for it. Okay?
It's okay. Thank you.
Sure. Any other questions?
I'm good.
Okay. Okay. So should we adjourn today's discussion?
I
Yeah.
think, yeah, if there's no more questions from the multitude of participants, Aurora, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, and no one sent you, because I sent an email asking them to forward any questions that they may have. No one sent anything to you, Phil?
No.
Okay, so that will be it then.
Oh, wait, I can show you. I found it. Back to our Google group.
Okay.
I will not be defeated. If you go to manage members, this is sort of what the page looked like when we first created the group. If you go to manage members, on the left it says invite members. Okay. And there you put the email addresses of whomever you want to invite, and they get an email invitation to join the group. And they can get it as long as they're logged into the account that's related to the email that you put into the list. Boy, am I glad I found that. Okay?
Okay, great. This was the last of the 5 webinars, Aurora. And
Yes.
For those who were not able to participate, the videos all the videos, the recordings will be at the Google website that I sent to you.
Yes, and I sent it out to all the teachers.
Yeah, and that website will be there indefinitely for you guys to use it as a resource. And thank you so much. If you have any other requests, you know how to get in touch with me. Let me know.
Okay.
All right?
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
both.
you so much, Jose. Appreciate it.
No, thank you. And this was so worth it. It's gonna make my life way easier from this point on.
Well, which one do you think is going to make your life easier?
Everything. I saw my classmates using Hangouts in class. What are they doing? Why can I?
Okay. It's really simple. It's just a matter of doing it for the first time.
Exactly. I just didn't know how it worked.
And I will say this, it's a little easier when you go to hangouts.google.com than from Gmail. It's a little clearer there. So keep that in mind if you're having, if you're having some issues.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, well, thanks to all of those who participated. It was fun.
Have a nice evening, both of you.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.